Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Weekly, we are brought to you by All Access MMA. Check out allaccessmma.com for our video podcast, MMA news, and MMA stories. Ed, we're together on a Bellator 300 weekend. Uh, wasn't sure if Bellator would ever make it to this number, and they might not go many past it, but we're here.
So yeah, and I'm glad you're going because I was gonna go as media. I was gonna put in for it, and it's a big event that I really wish I could go to, but I had jury duty come at me at the same time, and it was literally like I was on the hook up until October 6th, which is kind of eats up fight week because the event's on the 7th. So and oddly enough, they let me off the hook today finally. But which is why we're recording a little earlier tonight because I got home. I got some free time out of the day since when they dismissed us. But yeah, I'm glad you're going to that event because it is a marquee event, 300 events, and with everything going on in the news about Bellator, I hope that they honor the name and what they've done thus far. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the media stuff that went on today. I'm going to have to do that after the podcast because, I know they had the press conference today. Lots of good questions were asked. I know Coker talked about, what he feels he's accomplished with the brand. As I was going through clips on my train ride home from the grand jury courthouse, but it was definitely it's definitely something I wish I could have watched because it's history, man. I mean, you need a good number two promotion to the UFC out there, and right now in the US, it's for me, it's still Bellator anyway.
Talent-wise, it's definitely Bellator.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't know enough about the ownership of a lot of the other companies to really, at least for me, I don't know enough about PFL, and we don't know what's going on with BK. I mean,
like,
BKFC is not MMA, but just any general promotion. Bellator, we've had a pretty, I don't want to say open book because obviously it's not an open book, but there's
mm-hmm.
been, we've known some names with Bellator,
Yeah,
and some
their
faces.
fighters have been great. The PR people are great. For media stuff. Shout out to Danny Brenner and CJ Tuttle for helping out media us guys get some experience covering this sport. It's a really good promotion, and I think that's why I get a little heated when people try to shit on them because if you want to cover MMA, the UFC, unless I mean maybe you gotta like eat bugs or suck on put hot sauce in your eyes to get their attention on TikTok. But like these guys will give you if they see that you're writing and covering the sport, they'll give you legit credentials so you can cover the sport. And I don't understand how the UFC is not that way, but it's just what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, who knows? But yeah, I mean, you've had it from the media side and the professional side of that, and I've had it since day one, basically with Bellator as a fan. I mean,
Mhm,
I get the same way. When I see people, on Twitter or something like, who watches Bellator? I want to be like, well, I do. I went to Bellator 10. This is going to
mhm,
be my 36th Bellator event. I mean,
mhm.
I can pretty confidently say I've probably been to more as a fan than anybody on this planet. Like until somebody shows me a 37 number next to the amount, like I will never believe it because there was a lot of small events, especially in the early days. I went to Bellator 99. I
Yeah,
went to Bellator 199. I never made it to 100 or 200. So this one's kind of cool because at least I hit
yeah.
the even big number. But
You know what's pretty cool actually that you're going to this event and with it's the co-main is Cyborg versus Ngannou for the title, and you did that good write up on the Blogboard Jungle website about the Cyborg Carano. It's like you've definitely got like there's you've got bars in this game as they
I
as,
mean, between Bellator and Strikeforce, yeah. I mean, that's you're roughly 50 events that I was able
mm-hmm,
to go see, and I mean, I'm not a part of the history, but I've seen the history unfold in front of me, and people shit on Bellator, and then it's like, well, but I saw like Eddie Alvarez make a run. I saw Chandler's whole
yeah,
career. I saw Pitbull's whole career. I saw Joe Warren. I saw the Melvin Manhoff, Joe Schilling battles when you know what I mean? Like there was the Paul Daly's kind of revigoration, where he came in and started having firework fights with Larkin and Ward
mm-hmm,
and those guys. So to me, it's always been like a really fun promotion. I've told people from for a long time now that I always felt like Bellator was a party, like at of an
Yeah.
atmosphere, especially on the floor.
Oh
And
yeah.
whereas UFC is more of a it's commercial. Like you don't have access. Like if you have floor seats at Bellator, you can go shake Scott Coker's hand.
Yeah.
That's how
So
different.
so here's like I've only been to one Bellator event as a fan. It was before I even knew I wanted to cover the sport. I went. It was a gift to me from a girl I was seeing at the time. We went to Rampage's first fight against Mbuku. I have the shirt in my closet hanging still. At Mohegan Sun. I remember I sat on the second tier, and the thing you're talking about, man, that and I actually tell this to a lot of the guys I train with. You know, like they were all talking about going to UFC events, but we all go to regional shows around here because we got guys that compete for my gym and sub only grappling and you know coming up in MMA and all that stuff. And I always tell them, I'm like, if you want to have fun, like at an event, go to a Bellator event because they do so many engaging things with the fans, like the meet and greets that they do. You know, if you are like first whatever number into the arena, you can get bobbleheads and all the stuff that they do just to interact with the fans and kind of say thank you for coming to this event. You don't see that. I mean, maybe in the past the UFC did stuff like that, but what do you get like a fucking NFT now or something? Some shit you can't
Yeah,
hold.
but to be fair, Bellator kind of got away from that post COVID, and that's
Hmm.
been and now we're seeing
Well,
maybe why there might
you
be
gotta.
reasons why
Yeah, yeah.
so but for the most part that's been the case, and it might be the case this weekend. I haven't heard of anything special. Usually they'd have a Dave and Buster's thing or something, and I'm
Hmm.
kind of surprised I haven't seen that come up through this week. Seems like a missed opportunity, but they're not trying. If you're gonna sell,
That's
you're
what I'm
not gonna
saying.
drop
That
any
this
extra
that,
money on
that this
stuff.
event's coming with a little bit of like I don't want to say shade. I'm not sure what the term I'm looking for is, but
Shade's
there's
right.
there's a
Like we
little
can criticize the owner, like we can still praise the
yeah.
promotion while at the same time being disappointed that they seem to be kind of selling out.
So that the thing of it is like I mean if I'm working there and I know this is happening, it's like a going out of business sale. You're still coming to work to get your last bit of money, but there's got to be some sort of it's got to be a bittersweet too. Like it can't be all good moods or all around. Like I know for a fact, like when the UFC sold, folks that because back before the UFC sold, I still had people I talked to there, and that I was getting credentialed back then before the Endeavor era. And people I talked to without saying names, like texting them when I was still in Vegas. I remember when that sale happened. I was on before I got on the plane back to Jersey because I was UFC 200 weekend. I was texting people and they were literally telling me everyone in the room, their jaws just dropped right now. Like the mood is not good. And like, so I would imagine something similar is going on. But, when things change, you're always going to see a changing of the guard and like management and other people. So we'll see what happens because they have this event in the 301s in November. And then on their website is literally nothing else after that. Maybe they'll announce something on during the broadcast. Again, I have no idea what went on at the press conference today because I was in fucking jury duty, but I'm gonna watch it like tonight and tomorrow morning. My tweets will or after this podcast when I'm done editing and uploading, it'll be I'll have my takeaways from that.
Well, I honestly hope that they don't say anything during the event. Like let's keep you got to keep it separate. You can't.
Hmm.
I mean that would be a tough pill for. I mean, not a tough pill because most people don't give a damn. I mean, let's just this is not life changing things
Mm-hmm.
for us as fans. Obviously, for the fighters and for the cut men and the and everything else that goes along the promotional guys. Then obviously there could become a time where they're looking for jobs elsewhere if the we've heard so many rumors about them running separate promotions to
Mm-hmm.
everything, and none of a lot of it doesn't make sense. So whenever I assume there's a sale going down, you got to assume that Bellator is basically going to disappear. They might sugarcoat it for a couple months, but it's just a matter of time before they make the
If
cut.
they were smart, they would do the SmackDown Raw thing and let Bellator run it with his branding and everything, and then keep doing your seasonal format and kind of mix that up. Like have the champions enter, because they've been doing tournaments that are $1 million tournaments. Have the champions enter the tournament. You know what I mean? The PFL tournaments. Make super fights off the pay-per-views with the Bellator champion versus whatever name for the PFL branding. Like there's things they could do. It's just depending on who's running what and if you have too many decision makers, they're going to start running into each other, making bad decisions, unless they got a good team of people. Well, which
Yeah,
I
I mean
doubt. Which I doubt.
the neither the PFL or Bellator do like expect huge numbers on
Mhm.
TV. So neither of them are like box office really as far as the numbers on television goes. So we're talking ESPN and Showtime. Obviously, there's a
Mhm.
big discrepancy. For PFL to get 150,000 eyes on ESPN seems a little bit a little bit weak to me.
If they would have just put them on CBS the whole time they've been under the Viacom Paramount banner, like if you had just put the events on CBS, you wouldn't have this stigma of not enough people know about Bellator. People would have. Let me look back at the Elite XC Strike Force days when they were on CBS. I mean, the numbers that those Kimbo Slice fights did and everything. Like you could have done a bunch. The one that they just did, the numbers that was like everyone, people watched that event. Like
Yeah,
I
no
don't.
doubt, no doubt. I mean, the Kimbo Day numbers, those for TV will never come back because you have so much streaming and stuff
Mm-hmm.
now. Today's actually the anniversary of Seth Petrozelli
Mm.
pulling off the upset over Kimbo and basically killing that organization. I mean, I do like the idea of the Raw SmackDown model. In a
Yeah.
perfect world, honestly, I'd like to see them combine in some fashion and change the names of both of them so we get like a kind of a. To me, professional fighter league is kind of generic. Bellator is kind of odd because it's not a name that most people are able to like pinpoint what it means. I believe it means warrior in Spanish essentially, and that's what I've always
Mm.
understood. I never checked,
And
the
yeah, in
the
Latin, I think it means warrior. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I read 15 years ago or whatever when it started and when it was a primarily Spanish speaking promotion
Mm.
for the first 12 events, 13 events. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it from the beginning. I can't. I can, there's so much fun. I went with so many friends. Been out to New York, to your neck of the woods for it. It's one of those things where I was sad when Strikeforce left. I was sad when WC was gone. I was sad when Pride was gone, obviously, and in Elite XC for that matter. I mean,
Mhm.
Elite XC was kind of like the drunkards MMA organization, but they had good names and and they
Yeah.
there was fights. I mean, we were on. I saw today we were the next event for Elite XC had it not been canceled was going to be headlined by Eddie Alvarez versus Nick Diaz.
Mm.
And you think like, what could have been? I mean, the co-main event was Joey Villasenor, who a lot of newer fans have no idea was, but the dude was a fucking killer in
Mhm.
early Elite XC and King of the Cage when King of the Cage was like the top like 3-4 promotion in the country. He was one of their champions out here. So I mean, and Lawler obviously that would have been a bang at the time. It would have been a banger. So there was, you hate to see it because you look at Bellator and you're like, God damn, what's Pico's next fight? And you're going, well, we may never see it.
Mhm.
Now maybe he's gonna fight somebody from you know somebody from PFL, and there'll be some names, but I'm not impressed with PFL's roster. I know they got obviously some good fighters,
Mhm.
but they haven't brought me in like
They
like
don't
the
do a good job of
no,
getting.
they've always done a bad job. They're on different
Yeah,
nights. I mean, Bellator switches between Fridays and Saturdays occasionally, but you generally know like their big events
they're
are
going to be on the
Saturday.
weekend. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not a
and
random
they don't just show up
Wednesday.
on a random Wednesday.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And there's not. I don't know. All promotions have their ups and downs, but
Mhm.
I've been a huge fan. Obviously, it'll be sad if the day comes when it's gone, but that day's not here yet. So let's talk Saturday, Ed. What do we got on the fight card here? Because I know right now we're showing like 16 fights. Well,
Yeah,
17. Unfortunately, we lost Linton Vassell, Ryan Bader heavyweight championship.
yeah. Shout out to
Um,
Nolan King for breaking that news early in the week. That was the hit that the card took. Vassell was due to undisclosed illness, according to the piece that he wrote over at MMA Junkie. But we still got some pretty good fights. So 3 title fights make up the main card on the Showtime portion. And there's a ton of prelims that you can watch on Bellator's YouTube channel. Um, Starts at 6 p.m. my time, I believe. Well, I guess we should look at the first title fight with Liz Carmouche and Alimale McFarlane. Man, I'm looking. So we're looking at Bellator.com. They have their fan picks where people vote on who's going to win. it's almost 50-50 there. They have 51% for Carmouche and 49% for McFarlane. I would say that's pretty fair. Um, I don't know about you. I know McFarlane has had some emotional duress with the stuff going on in Maui. I'm wondering how heavy that weighs on her mind. And Carmouche is proven to be one tough customer who I always, if you look at her fight with Ronda Rousey, there's a point where she almost wins that fight, cranking Rousey's neck the other way. And, it could have been a different could have been a different story for the UFC if she finished that move. But yeah, I would say 50-50 is right. I don't know, man. I just because I know McFarlane might not be all there because of everything going on, and with the Maui stuff, I feel like because she was really emotional on her social, I feel like Carmouche might have the edge.
Yes, I agree with that. So yeah, I saw Lima Lay. I've watched her fight 3 times live in Bellator. Her second fight ever, and then defending the title against Ortega and Alejandra Lara. Carmouche, I managed to see fight Rousey in that fight
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned. That was out here at the Anaheim Pond. And then I saw her
Mm-hmm.
in New York at your side for the big opening 205, where I think she opened the card actually with a win
Mm-hmm.
over Caitlin Chukagian that night. Um, Lima Lay McFarlane, for my money, is way more exciting and a much fun fighter to watch.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't see a path to victory in this fight for her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is going to be very hard. She's not going to knock out Carmouche. I
Yeah.
don't think she'll be able to get Carmouche down to the ground. I suppose her way to victory is using her really good jiu-jitsu. If Carmouche were to take her down and fall into a triangle or an armbar, I think that's really like the only way I can see um, McFarlane winning, and I don't think it'll happen. I think
Mm-hmm.
Carmouche does her thing. She grinds herself to
Yeah.
grinds the fight down to a halt. I think she controls Elima Lay on the ground. I think on standing, it's probably 50-50. Neither of them are super powerful strikers. I might even lean slightly McFarlane in the
Mm-hmm.
stand up. Um,
You
Although
know.
although Carmouche did stand with Shevchenko, although it was a boring
Mm-hmm.
house hell fight, she did stand with Shevchenko for 5 rounds. So,
Yeah.
there's but I'm going Carmouche decision. I don't think this is going to be the fight that is going to light the crowd on fire, but it is two local girls essentially. I know Lima Lay's
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii, but she does a lot of stuff out of San Diego. Carmouche has been in San Diego for quite a while now. The training, I think both of them basically train at 10th Planet. I know at one time they were teammates. I'm not
Yeah.
sure where they're training
That's
now,
the
but
other thing too. Like there's a knowledge of what how the other they kind of know how one another fights and the other thing you mentioned that Artiga fight with McFarlane, man. I mean, you know, Carmouche is just like a better and tougher Artiga. You know what I mean? Like that was a tough fight for McFarlane, the Vita Artiga fight. I know a cut
I
ended
don't
it.
think Carmouche is tougher. I think she's just better and more technical, and
Yeah,
maybe stronger than Arvita. But
yeah, that's what I'm
you
saying.
know,
There's things she's just better.
mhm.
So it's hard not to. I mean, it'd be nice for Lima Lay to win, but it's hard. I agree with the numbers here. I'm with the fans on this one. I'm going. It looks like we're both for Carmouche.
I expect the arena to be pretty pro McFarlane. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of followers and friends and family for both of them, but
Mm-hmm.
Alima Lay's got a nice following, and even though a lot of the casual fans recognize her from her, just from
Mm-hmm.
headlining the Bellator Hawaii cards and the Lays and the Hula Girls and all that kind of stuff that goes along with the Hawaiian background. Co-main event personally is a fight that I'm super excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chris Cyborg, Kat Zingano, a fight that's been kind of a grudge match waiting to happen for god dang. I mean, you could almost argue a decade at this point, going back
Mm-hmm.
to the early UFC days, and even well, I mean, Cyborg wasn't in the early UFC days with Zagano and Tate and them, but at the same time, they were in Invicta together. And Zingano's always been a top challenger, while Cyborg has essentially always been the champion. Um, you mentioned the write up I did with Cyborg. Cyborg always talks about being a Grand Slam champion.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky enough to see her fight. I think approaching 9-10 times now, and I was at 3 of those title wins. So I've been at 3 or 4 of her. The Strike Force, the UFC, and the Bellator titles. I was all there. Got to see it. Zingano not as much. I saw her fight at Bellator or UFC 200 recently. Recently, I was at her Pachanga. She fought McCourt. I saw her fight with uh, Megan Anderson, where she took the toe to the eye early in the fight. So,
Yeah.
been some up and downs in the fights I've seen Cat fight, but I mean, I think Cyborg personally probably goes into cyborg mode, uh, because y- Cyborg, although she comes across as this savage in the cage, which obviously she's earned, um, she usually doesn't have animosity towards the people she's fighting.
No.
This is like the first fight that I can remember in a long time. I mean, she fought the Marlos Conans, like everything was respectful. Julia Budd, even Tanya Evinger. A lot of these people, Blenko. Um, so this is the first fight where she's been on Twitter kind of calling somebody out and seeming like she wants to put someone in their place. So I kind of am curious to see if we get that, you know, smash mode cyborg, which could also open up a hole for Zingano to take advantage of.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say because like I keep this fight makes me think of when she fought Amanda Nunes in the UFC. Like there's a you could see in that fight that she actually I mean and it's not that it's hype, but like Cyborg seemed like she was overconfident, and then obviously she the fight went down the way it went down. So I my concern is that the animosity does that to her and gets her very like overconfident, and Zingano is able to catch her with something. Um, so I don't. I mean, she's also experienced. So I mean, before I even continue, just to bring up the numbers again, 86% of the fans voted for Cyborg to win. It's hard to pick against her. It's hard to pick against her because of what I'm about to say. Is that she's because of her experience? I don't see her falling in. She's someone that learns from her mistakes. She's not going to fall into that again. And I just feel like she's going to go on with the proper amount of nervous energy that fighters bring to the cage, so that their bodies can perform, at their best. And being, in your neck of the woods, a location she's super like, the guy has a strong fan base. 300th event, her relationship with Scott Coker, I feel like she's probably not looking to let anybody down.
No, no, not at all. And yeah, I mean, I think that she figures out a way to do this. For me, like the Zingano's opening historically, like you might be talking of without going through the list of all the current fighters because I don't know every female fighter, but these are probably two of the best female fighters in the clinch in
Mm-hmm.
the history of MMA. Um, Zingano has always found a way. She did it with McCourt. She did it with Misha Tate back in the day. She manages to get the tie clinch and and use her knees and that inside fighting really, really
Mm-hmm.
well. The only person who might be better at her than that is Chris Cyborg. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of I feel like that neutralizes because to me like that would have been Zingano's like shot like let's get a clinch up against the cage, throw a knee, maybe you catch her in the liver,
And
maybe you
her,
get her to head or drop her head and you cut her
mm-hmm.
like you bloody her up. Basically that's what she did to McCourt. McCourt
Yeah,
fight was 50-50 and then she caught
and
her and busted her up.
I feel like folks that are going to talk about, like Zingano's got great wrestling, but I think Cyborg's got enough experience, and she's probably the stronger fighter that she can neutralize the wrestling. So um, she's probably going to, obviously, if they keep it at range, the striking edge goes to Cyborg. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. But yeah, it's that's probably going to be a really good fight. I mean, yeah, would you say if you're expecting a finish though?
I think Cyborg finishes her within the first round and a half.
Mm,
I think she bloodies her up, and I think she mauls her. I think
mm,
this also is the fight that brings the roof off the arena. I think this is the one that everybody there is going to be excited for, and not because it's necessarily the best fight, because that or the best fight or fighters on the card, because the main event's got an undefeated future star on it. But I
mhm,
don't. I think the Cyborg Zingano brings in the old school fans, the new school fans, the hardcore fans. You know what I mean? Like
mhm.
Cyborg, if you're a fan of MMA, you don't miss a Cyborg fight. Like
Yeah,
that's you know what I mean? Like she's established herself on the if Mount Rushmore was 10 fighters, she'd be on it, male and female. That's
for
that's
sure.
basically where she is. So and I have mad respect for her with all the crap she had to put up with all those years. And um, obviously she had her issue with the test a decade ago now, over a decade ago now, but um those were different times. Wild Wild West was different. So but yeah, so I got Cyborg. Let's jump to this main event. Brett Primus getting a title shot in the lightweight Grand Prix. He fights Usman Nurmagomedov, 5 rounds for his title. Nurmagomedov 17-0, finishing people left and right,
Mm-hmm.
submissions, knockouts, a little bit of everything. Seems like he's almost a prodigy of the sport in the way he's able to do stuff. Um, Not a clone of his cousin Khabib by any means. He's more of a violent fighter, I would say. A little less in the control thing and more of the like just let's just kill this guy and get him out of here
Mm-hmm.
kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Primus has been there with everybody. He was a former champ. Fought Chandler twice. Obviously, they split, but um, I mean, I can't pick. It's a Mega Medoff, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I am picking against an undefeated one, you
Yeah.
know. So I think honestly, this is probably a finish too. Primus is extremely durable, but I do think that Nurmagomedov, especially in a 5 round fight, I'm thinking somewhere between 3-4 round, ish. I think he's able to wear him down and finish the fight. It might even come sooner than that if he starts landing a wheel kick or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't disagree with anything you said. 90% of the fans on the Bellator.com website are picking Nurmagomedov to win, and there's only a 9% leaning for Primus. But I'm anxious. I want to see the odds on this. I feel like, oh, I don't know, man.
It's got to be negative 350 for Usman. It's got to
Yeah,
be. Got to be 3 or 4 to 1 at least.
yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't. I feel something. I don't know why. I want to pick Brent Primus, maybe just because everyone else is picking Nurmagomedov. But I'm just because I want to be that guy. I'm picking Brent Primus to win.
Hey,
So
well, we'll
he's got. I
see.
mean,
I
listen,
mean,
he does things that impress me. He's always done something that really impressed me. Again, Usman has been very impressive. Since he's made this run in Bellator. But I mean, there's every time that I can think of, I've counted Brent Primus out. He's done something to surprise me. Like I remember when seeing how good his jiu-jitsu is. It was, I think that was against Benson Henderson. Um, I'm trying to think the fight against Michael Chandler like when he's one of the people that I first saw actually make use of the calf kick and screw someone's foot up. Like I was just like he's always done something that impressed me. So those moments are what's making me pick him. So I'm picking him. I'm picking Brent Primus.
I hope it's a hell of a fight. And if the upset happens, I will be standing up and cheering the dude on. So, I mean, it's 3 good fights. 4 would have been freaking sweet, but but the
Yeah,
prelims also got a lot of names on them. The Henry Corrales, Davian Franklin, um, Leah McCourt,
yeah,
Sarah
that's a fight we
McMahon
were
fight.
just for before because we were talking about it. Yeah, Sarah McMahon, Liam McCourt. That's going to be a fun fight. Um, I feel like if Sarah McMahon's going to wrestle a decision, what would the fans say on that one? Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like they agree. She just seems like she's stronger, and this is the fight that you were saying if we get a swing into the Showtime broadcast off of YouTube, Henry Corrales versus Kai Kamaka the third, like that's surprisingly like in the middle of the prelims. Currently, they could change the card up come fight night, but that this is a fight that I feel like should be closer to the main card.
That should open the main card. They need to add a fight because you got to
Hmm.
remember, like, even though there's TV time, that
Hmm.
arena has a lot of people show up for the main card. They want
Hmm.
to sell beers. They want to, you know what I mean? Like, you can't if you have 3 quick fights and this event's over in an hour and 15 minutes. You know, I mean that at
Oh,
least my mind.
Alejandro Lara Joanne's
Yeah,
fighting. It's a little,
yeah.
there's some,
Joanna
yeah,
Bishop and gosh, there was
yeah,
another one. Justin Montavo. I've seen him fight a million times. He's
hmm,
a mainstay on the West Coast here for their fights.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's a lot of guys with nice little records. 5 and
hmm,
O's, 4 and O's. So it looks like I I'm having a hard time reading their ticket sales because if I'm being honest, I think Bellator has played some games with what tickets they've released. Seems
Mm.
like a lot of promotions are doing it now. I don't know if they're trying to sell certain sections first and therefore not releasing other sections. I'm not real sure. I'm kind of expecting a late last minute ticket dump where I look and all of a sudden there's a bunch of tickets for Bellator available.
Hmm.
But as it stands right now in the lower bowl, there's probably only 20 tickets available. I mean, it's pretty thin. I pulled the trigger on buying some the other day because some popped up that weren't there a week ago, and then they popped up, and so I'm like fourth row, fifth row riser right next to the cage, so
Yeah.
I got a hell of a seat for the fight. But it's historically they never sold like that.
Mm.
But we mentioned all the prelims. I haven't checked to see how many of those guys are local. The main card is essentially all local fighters.
Mm.
Well, not it would have been the two of the three title fights are basically four local guys. I'm wondering how many. If Cyborg very well might sell 3,000-4,000 tickets by herself. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know how many tickets that these people are able to sell, especially in their neighborhood. Zinganu, you know what I mean? You might have all of 10th Planet there for Carmouche and McFarland. So
Mm.
you might have all of 10th Planet from San Diego to San Jose there. You know what I mean? Like there's chance. So I'm thinking that that's probably what happened is that the fighters were able to sell a lot of tickets, therefore maybe boosting the
Yeah.
thing. It doesn't look like they've closed off sections of the arena because there's almost tickets like spattered among the top rows. But for the most part, if what I'm seeing in the ticket thing is true, then it's going to be one of the better selling Bellator events that they've ever had, which would be ironic if we're talking about them basically closing the doors for what you got to believe would be financial reasons. Otherwise,
Mm.
why would you do it? So I think
But
it's 3:30 my time, 6:30 your time. I believe
yeah.
that's the prelim start. Um, Main card I think is 10 your time, 7 my time. Um, actually, yeah, I think that's what it's going to be with that many prelims. I imagine we'll have 3.5 hours of prelims, and then
Yeah,
the
no,
main
that's
card.
right. 10 p.m. Eastern,
There you go.
6:30 for the prelims.
So
Um, there is also a UFC event on that night. UFC Fight Night, whatever, in the Apex. It's an ESPN Plus card. If you're not in the UFC's favorite circle, you probably didn't get tickets to the Apex. But if you're looking for other fights to watch, man, this is a surprisingly pretty well. I'm just going to bring it up. We're not going to do picks or anything, but I'm just going to bring it up because we don't want to leave it out because obviously it will be trending as well that night. Um, and there's some fights that we were looking at just before we started recording on here that are surprisingly like scattered about on the card. The main event is Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. I feel like this is they're them trying to feed Grant Dawson to Bobby Green to try to get him give Bobby Green the push. I mean, not that he hasn't earned it or whatever, but I know he makes some very popular clickable stuff on social media, so that's probably why this is happening. But
based off the odds, they agree. The odds makers agree with you.
yeah, so yeah, because he's Green's plus 310, Dawson's minus 445. But look at these other fights on the card, the ones that caught my eye when I was getting ready for the podcast this week. You got all these good. This Morano versus Buckley is on the main card. I mean, they seem to have stacked this Apex card really
Yeah, Drew
well.
Dober versus Rick Lynn's a good fight.
On the
Um,
prelims, Philippe Lenz versus Ion Kutalaba, like and Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Diana Belbita, and Johnny Munoz versus this young fellow over here that I'm not gonna. We're
no,
not
we're not
gonna.
gonna try to say it. The guy from China,
Yeah.
Aqualung or something like that. He's fighting Johnny Munoz Jr., the son of my first jiu-jitsu instructor in 98.
Oh, Jesus.
So pulling for that guy. No, old man. Jeez,
And
right?
this fight right here, Demopoulos versus Murata, that's a great fight too. I mean,
Yeah, Murata. I've kind of lost track of her. She was kind of
mhm.
can't miss for a little while,
That's why I
and then
was
I
so
feel like
happy to
I
see her name.
missed her for
Yeah.
a while. Yeah. What's okay? She hasn't fought in a couple years, so that would explain it because she had a shoulder injury.
Mm.
There it is against Jandaroba. So okay, that makes sense now because she was at one point, other than a fight loss early in her career, she was on a hell of a run and
Yeah.
doing a lot of damage in Rising and stuff. So yeah, good fight. Montana De La Rosa and JJ Ulrich,
It's the
another
first
fight
fight on the card.
going back to the going back to one of the early tough days
Mhm.
for the women's flyweight. Yeah, I mean,
So looks like, I mean, it's a good thing it's raining here on the East Coast on Saturday, because my night in will certainly not be without content to consume and write about.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but UFC obviously, like you said, has some fights and a surprisingly good spatter of names, but that Bellator card has a chance to be fire. So I don't know, man. Hopefully you get a lot of good stuff to write about. Hopefully I'm not regretting the drive home from San Diego back up to my place, but I don't think I will. I think that we're in for a good night of fights. I've never been to
Hmm.
a boring cyborg fight, so I don't think
No.
there's any way I walk away with that arena at least have some memory of something chaotic going on inside the Bellator cage. And um, look forward to hopefully saying what's up to our guy Matt Marsden and some of the other guys from Bellator that have been good to us. And if this is the last time I get to see him in San Diego or get to see him in general, I think it's going to be a nice little swan song here. So again, that's Saturday loaded day of action, and God, it's going to be fun. It's going to
Yeah.
be fun.
Great show. Thanks, Kevin, for the shout out. Appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The Bellator 301 is in Chicago next month, so we'll see what's in store between now and then. But in the meantime, you have fun at that event. I'm gonna have fun watching. I'll hopefully be able to jump on the Bellator Zoom and get some questions in. Um, but this is definitely interesting times to be a fan of mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. I saw James Lynch was coming out to cover it. So when James Lynch is on a plane to cover it, it's a big event. So
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to seeing that guy out there too. So thank you for everybody for listening. You can catch the show on Twitter at Combat Hour, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed on Twitter at Carbazol, Old Head Carb on Twitch, and Carb Beerzall on Instagram. And again, you can always check out the show at allaccessmma.com. Check out All Access MMA for our video podcast, MMA stories, MMA news. And of course, again, check out the Bloody Good Show website. That's the Bloody Good Show,
The bloody
where we're
good
listed
show.
with a lot of other MMA podcasts. Support all these guys that are doing stuff for free and trying to help out the podcast community. So check all that stuff out and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the fights, whether you're in rain, whether you're in heat. Stay safe and look forward to next time.
Peace.